you too. My God, it's been so long. How you doing? Oh my God. Wow. This is part 2 of us checking out Rotten Mango's video about United Healthcare's CEO getting shot in public. And yeah, everything that we need to know, which we've learned a lot of fun facts that I didn't know about, such as the backpack having Monopoly money in it. We talked about health stories, talked about the rage I felt, which I started screaming at one point passionately. And also told goofy jokes here and there, because sometimes in situations like this, it's fun to get mad and express yourself. Also fun to tell some jokes to lighten the mood a little bit, because sometimes topics in life can be a little hard. And I just want to say one thing before we get started. We might have different perspectives about moral relativism and about when it comes to having empathy, right? And I want to say something very clearly. I've stated this in the previous video as well. You are more than welcome to have a different moral outlook than myself. The thing about individuality is that we are all our own person, and morals are subjective, right? I myself do not have empathy towards the CEO who died here. I don't, right? Now, do I wish death upon people? No. Do I say eat the rich a lot? Yes. But that's my stance, right? Is that I am not really empathetic towards him. And if you're somebody who is, I'm not going to judge you or say that you're wrong, because you and your morals are subjective and you're your own person. All right? So just making that very clear. Now, I'm very opinionated. I yap a lot and I make a lot of jokes. This is who I am as a person. If you're uncomfortable with that sort of thing, probably not the video for you. It might not be the channel for you either, to be honest, because I do stuff like this quite often. I'm more of a commentary channel, less of a reaction channel. I kind of mix both together when I do stuff. So I just want to make sure that's kind of clear going into this. Again, you are always entitled to your own like social relativism for when it comes to how you stand morally, right? And others shouldn't dictate or tell you what you should feel, right? And that's why I'm saying very clearly, it's okay if you have more empathy towards this, but please don't judge other people, right, who have less empathy for this. And vice versa. If you start to judge other people for having more empathy towards this, that's stupid too, right? Because everyone has their own levels of what they like and dislike in life. And when we start to like shell those in weirdly, we're being fucking cringe as hell on the internet. And we're already cringe enough as it is because you're watching a VTuber. Ha! Pussy. Anyways, let's get into it.
Provider for this.
Oh, check out Rotten Mango's original video linked in the description below, please. And thank you.
X-ray I had done because I could have died. The claim still has to be approved by United. United has the highest claim denial rate in the industry. The industry average being around 16%. United denies claims over 30% of the time. A third. Imagine you're going through a fast food drive-through. You pay money, and a third of the time, you may not get your food. In fact, you may owe more money. One of my favorite things is shopping for other people, but
I'm a speed run her ad read for her because I know of Stitch Fix. I don't want to skip someone's bag. I don't want to skip somebody's their segment, especially when it's a recent video. Yeah, it came out literally just a day ago. Their link to their Stitch Fix and Shopify are both in their description, and Rosetta Stone. That's their sponsors for this video. So I'm just gonna talk about each of them briefly so we can skip them for her talking about it for the paid segment, but still address her sponsors because that's really important to support someone's sponsors, especially for a recent video. You can check them all linked in her actual original video in the description below. And I'm just gonna go through it really quickly. So Stitch Fix is a company where basically it's clothing that you get mailed to you. So rather than having to go to a store and try things on, you just get to have it delivered to you. And then you get to try it on your own place. Decide if you want to buy it. A stylist works with you on your measurements and everything. And boom, it's done. So you don't have to actually go out and do it yourself. Because you can get like high quality clothes and like high quality brands. That's that one. Cool. And when we get to the other ones, I'll let you know. I don't like skipping people's sponsor segments because they deserve their bag and we're reacting to their video and they deserve to have the highlight. Just a quick way to like do that without sitting here for too long. But also, again, their link and their creator codes and stuff like that are all in their description, which is their videos linked to my description too. So just, go support that if you want to check it out.
Rotten. That's stitchfix.com/rotten. Here's one Reddit review of United before the killing of Brian Thompson. This is from 2 years ago. It reads, "My son and I were on United for a year. It was the worst experience I ever had with insurance. They denied every little thing. We would have to spend hours on the phone with them. Eventually, they would pay the claim. We would have to get the state insurance commissioner involved in an ER visit that they didn't want to pay. Eventually, they paid it, only to reverse their decision 6 months later. Once again, we spent months fighting it, and eventually they paid it. I hate this company, and if my employer ever decides to go with United Healthcare, I would strongly think about finding another job." One comment under that reads, "I'm having the same issues right now. Denying all my claims, now I'm being billed thousands of dollars for routine blood work."
Wow.
One ER nurse on TikTok says, "The things I've seen dying patients get denied for by insurance makes me physically sick. I just can't feel sympathy for Brian Thompson because of all those patients and their families." Another healthcare worker writes, "I work in hospital utilization management. United Healthcare is literally the worst payer, and it's not even by a close margin. In my extensive firsthand experience, they deny medically necessary services in bad faith constantly. I would never use them. United denies anything they can. I hate them."
2 seconds. If two people are debating in chat, I'm just double checking because I'm actually reading your guys' conversation. It's civil, right? Y'all are being respectful back and forth. Listen, I ain't reading you fucking paragraphs at each other. I just want to double check. Y'all being good? No one being too sassy, right? I'm checking. Very civil? Cool. I'll keep doing your thing.
Another review from 1 year ago, again, way before the killing of Brian Thompson, reads, "The company is targeting senior citizens with cheap so-called Medicare Advantage plans and denying coverage left and right. They are literally driving people to their graves." Another netizen writes, "It's scary, but I'm not surprised something like this finally bubbled up. Especially with the current dynamic in our society, it's akin to pitchforks and torches. The health system is a scam."
Someone is a first-time chatter named Communist Kaiju. Man, I love being an American with private healthcare. Sarcasm. It's a great name to say as a first-time chatter.
And somebody finally snapped. Another netizen points out, "Their business model is predicated on systematically denying customers vital care. They are effectively stealing billions in profits. So for example, United Healthcare makes billions, hundreds of billions of dollars."
I thought /SRS is serious and /S is sarcasm. Hey, Zoomers! Where the young fuckers at? Hey! Am I right? All right, chill. Sweet.
From all those insurance premiums. And they're incentivized to pay out less claims. So they can hoard more money to themselves. There's actually a law that you have to pay out a certain percentage of the monthly
premium. Do you know what's nice? Me and the other person both learned, because I learned that I wasn't wrong on my thing, and also you got to learn. You got to learn more acronyms today. That's nice.
More money to themselves. There's actually a law that you have to pay out a certain percentage of the monthly premiums that you receive. United did not. So they actually had to pay back consumers. I think like 7% of their annual premium.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
So that was a whole thing.
This is so shady.
They are taking $100 in, for example, every month. They pay out, let's say the law says you have to pay at least 50% of that. At least.
Yeah, probably more like $30.
Okay, at least 30% of dollar of that you need to pay for those medical procedures. And they are under. They only pay $23. They're like, fine, here's $7. Let me pay the patients $7 more.
Yes. Because, yeah, I mean, you do with that what you will, that information. United also provided corruption in our area. Corruption. Our money is dying. The health insurance plans for students at Penn State University, not to be confused with UPenn, which is important later, but I digress, okay? But at Penn State University, this was like a huge thing of what happened with United Healthcare. They are gonna provide insurance plans for students. It is a lucrative business model. Very healthy young students. I mean, Penn State University, you're talking about middle upper class students that probably take good care of their health. have been at this point. They're athletic, they work out, they're good. Paying every single month. Most of them don't really need that much medical help. Just some routine checkups, that's it. But one student at Penn State was costing United Healthcare $2 million a year. He has ulcerative colitis, severe arthritis, debilitating diarrhea. He has bloody diarrhea 40 to 50 times a day. And I know some
40 to 50 times a day? Wouldn't it be better to get a colonoscopy bag at that point? That is fucking insane. That is so much.
Someone might be like, oh, well, I have diarrhea. This is to the point he cannot engage in any normal activities. He cannot play sports. He cannot even go outside. He can't even go to the store to pick up apples because he could have debilitating diarrhea in the middle of the store.
That is so fucked. Oh my God. I feel so bad for him.
He has fatigue. He has potentially life-threatening blood clots. To treat him, it was costing United Healthcare $2 million a year. But now they don't want to pay that anymore, even though he's insured, even though he pays for their services. This is the social contract, and it's pretty much a contract, but they don't want it. Christopher needs that care. In 2021, a phone call is recorded by a United nurse and her colleague that works at United Healthcare. They're talking about how a doctor reviewed Christopher's case and decided he does not medically need all the medications he's on. You know, like the things that are keeping him a normal human being, he doesn't need it, which means if a doctor can say Christopher does not need the medications that are quite literally saving his life, United does not need to pay for it anymore. And they laugh about it.
He states that it's not medically necessary treatment. Yeah.
I knew that was coming.
They also go on to rant about how Christopher's mother keeps calling, quote, screaming and yelling and throwing tantrums. Yeah, because her...
If my child was suffering day in and day out, and I just want you to help keep him alive and help his quality of life, and you're trying to deny me that, I would be yelling and throwing tantrums. Are you fucking with me? That's the most reasonable thing. What the fuck? Where's your humanity? Where's your humanity? Of course a mother's gonna freak the fuck out.
Her son could die, but I guess that's funny. They both state that for the family to appeal the denial of treatment would be a waste of the family's time and money, so there's nothing that they can do about getting this potentially life-saving treatment denied. One of them remarks, "We're still gonna say no regardless." Christopher and his family end up suing. That's how this call is released.
Oh, thank
through those court
God.
documents. This is how United Healthcare is talking about their customers that pay every single month.
They're fucking laughing about them.
They laugh when they deny life-saving care. They also bury doctors' reports that told United, hey, if you alter Christopher's medications, that would be very dangerous for his health. They did not care. When all this came to light, a United spokesperson said, Christopher's treatment involves medication dosages that far exceed FDA guidelines. In cases like this, we review treatment plans based on his current clinical guidelines to help ensure patient safety.
Oh my God. Because Christopher has an aggressive treatment. They're trying to use that as, oh my God. He has aggressive treatment because he has an aggressive condition. They're not over medicating him. They're medicating him to help with that. How? This is Disney evil. This is some Wicked Witch type shit. Oh my God.
Which is not true. One of Christian's doctors wrote, this is not a typical case. He's very young. His condition is very extreme. Of course, we cannot stick to FDA guidelines. It's just not going to work for him. The FDA guidelines are there for the mass general public. And it's just a guideline. And they write, his disease is significantly severe with a diagnosis at a young age. He has failed every biologic medication class recommendations by guidelines. Therefore, guidelines can no longer be applied to this case. This is what's working. We've tried lowering his meds. It didn't work.
So the United Healthcare is saying that we did it for him.
That's exactly what Blue Cross Blue Shield was saying.
Oh, right,
They're
right,
saying,
right.
people are getting too much anesthesia, so we're doing it for you. And everyone's saying, you're not doing anything for us.
Yeah.
You're crazy if you think that. This is such crazy gaslighting on a corporate level. On top of that, Christopher's parents, they both work at Penn State University. They're faculty. So they were talking to the...
I'm sorry, I started crying. I'm sorry, I got so quiet. It just makes me so frustrated. I can't even imagine, like, because like I plan on having kids. You guys know how baby crazy I am. I'm so excited to have kids. I can't even imagine if my child had to go through this. Like the stress of that in addition to like having to deal with your health issue. It's like, fuck off. Like his life is valuable. If the only fucking life valuable to you is the fucking CEO's life and you were literally like, yeah, we can just kill Christopher. That's what you're saying to him. By denying him this, you're saying it's okay for him to die. Like, that's the crazy part. It's just, like, you should be equally as liable for at least, like, manslaughter charges or second degree. If you're willing to do this. Like,
this person that was the medium between Penn State University and United Healthcare, because it's the coverage that all the students get. And originally that person was going to the bat. They were trying to help get the United to pay all these claims. And then out of nowhere, that person becomes way less helpful. And they wonder why.
okay,
This was not
just like one side note is that I'm the person, like, so you can kind of tell I have like a very like, not to sound, you know, but like I'm a very like alpha type of personality, right? I take control of situations, I get shit handled, right? And I didn't always have this personality type. I was a very quiet person growing up and aloof. But when I came into like my mid-20s is when I really hit my stride as a person. It became like when I hit my mid-20s, I like really blossomed out of my shell and became this really confident person, right? And it took time though. It took me time to get there. I wasn't always this. But one of the things that helped me a lot was that with this level of confidence that I developed as I got older, and now I'm in my late 20s, was that the only reason I got the help that I needed for such as getting the biopsy to diagnose me for cancer was because I told them to do it. They refused to do it. And then I told them again. Right. And even for my mom, like I've seen her get denied before. And then I call her doctors and I give them hell. I will go with her to medical appointments because my mom is an immigrant. Right. And my mom, she speaks English fluently, but her English still isn't that strong. And people treat her second rate because of that. Because she's willing to listen and believe anyone who tells her something if they're a fucking doctor. Right? And sometimes they'll be like, you don't really need that. And I'm like, oh, why doesn't she? Right? And I'll check them. Like, I'll give a fucking reason. Right? And there's times where like even her fucking dentist was like delaying her. I think she needed like to get like some work done on one of her teeth, right? I think it was like a root canal, right? Which is pretty serious to not like deal with that because it can infect your gums, which is a huge issue if it does that, right? And they're like, yeah, we're going to delay you. We're probably going to book you in for like half a year later. I'm like, excuse the fuck, when are they booking you? She goes, well, they said like about half a year's the estimated time. They didn't give me a certain date. So I called them back. And I was like, what are you doing? You're the ones who said this in her checkup. When's the next availability? Right? And then I push them. And when you push people and you know the system, I said, if you're not available to do it at your clinic within the next 6 months, then transfer us to the hospital that does the surgery as well. Because the hospital, named the hospital name, right? They also do dental surgeries there. If you don't have the available operating room for it, then take her there and do it there. They got her done 2 weeks later. And that's the difference between knowing which routes to go and telling them to do something versus them giving you the fucking solution. Because they will do the laziest, godforsaking amount of work they possibly can, and they will not be your advocate. They will not. Right? You have to be the person who advocates for yourself because they are not on your side. Right? Jesus. And that's like what it came down to. Right? And then how did I learn that stuff? Oh, actually, it's very accessible. So if you look up your area, you can see which hospitals cover what and where treatments are done at certain hospitals. For example, there's one hospital near me that specializes in cancer treatment, right? All my surgeries are done at the hospital that specializes in cancer treatment, not the other surrounding hospitals. Even though one of those hospitals is a larger operation hospital, mine's done in the specialized hospital, right? Though it's not in the name of the hospital, you have to look into the hospital and what they normally cover. Based off of that, you can start to nail down what hospital to go to for what. Then after that, go to like what your insurance is and see what your insurance like covers, right? And that's where you find out in network which thing you can go for what to cover over that. Adulting is hard and complicated, and it's fucking stupid because they're not there to help you. They're there to hinder you, okay? So my solution is that I will do the research. I will take the time. I will find the solution. I will give these motherfuckers the solution that my mom can get treated properly. And it sucks that that's the world that we live in, but it's just what it is, right? And I know that mentally it's exhausting and it's draining. And I am with you on that because as a cancer patient, there's some days where I'm so mentally exhausted from treatment that I'm like, I don't want to fucking take my meds today, which is like the worst thing you can ever do, right? You have to take them every day. But it's like, you guys know, there's 2 sessions a day where I take 20 pills in the morning, 20 pills 20 hours later. 12 hours later, right? And those are the ones where I'm sitting there looking at them, my cartoonishly large amount of pills. And I'm like, I don't want to fucking take this because I'm depressed as shit. And dealing with this is like mentally draining. But you have to push through, right? And the same thing applies to taking care of your own health. Yeah, what happened is that my medication normally is actually like these, like basically like these fucking horse pills. They give me like a few of those that I take daily. They no longer are manufacturing those. So they have to give me dosages with a different type of drug. And the only way to equate my previous medication is to give me 20 pills of a different type of drug to equate the strength of the other drug I was on. No, I'm like not really a horse pill, but they feel like a horse pill. They're just big. I was just being exaggerative there. But yeah, so it's like that's the thing. And that's why it's like really important to like know what you fucking need to know how to deal with things, right? And before I accepted that, what did I do? I went through every single route in manufacturer to see what the holdup was. And then I went and like, I double checked everything I could on my end, and then through the pharmacy's end, and then through a different pharmacy's end until this became the solution with my surgeon to make sure that like, okay, I don't have another option. It's just the 40 pills a day, 20 pills in 2 sessions a day. It just is what it fucking is, right? And it's like, it sucks because there's a drug shortage and it is what it is. But anyway, again, you are your own best advocate. It's okay to be confused and scared. But one of the scariest things that can happen to you is that you neglect your self-care. And I even have friends who haven't seen a doctor or gone to a dentist appointment in years. And I'm talking years. And that might apply to some of you as well, right? But taking the time to see what your job covers or what you're able to work around, or even if you're somebody who makes a low enough income, you can be like subsidized for a lot more shit than you realize. A lot of it is the power of Google and how Google can save your fucking life when it comes to your money. Googling is one of the best solutions. It's just about taking the time and the mental strain to look through it all. But it is something that I definitely think you should do when it comes to your money and your health. It's like take the time to just look into exactly what you're dealing with.
Not publicly.
You fixed that this year, found out you have type 2 diabetes. Oh, yeah. So like that means like a lot of type 2 diabetes is managing through like whatchamacallit. Managing through diet's one huge thing, right? Because what happens is that for people who have type 2 diabetes, is it's something that can actually be reversible in some instances. Type 1 is the type where your like your pancreas said, "Yeet, doses. I don't want to fuck with this motherfucker anymore." Type 2 is more like, we can't balance out your insulin levels. We can't fucking make this shit work. We're confused. We're getting bamboozled, hoodwinked, overworked. What the fuck are we doing?" And it's causing your insulin to be like fucked over, right? So like regulating through diet and exercise is one of the most common ways to help with type 2 diabetes. And the thing too is that, and like a step further is like making sure you double check your like circulation, right? Some things that people like really underestimate with type 2 diabetes, which is like something I do for my dad in particular, because my dad has type 2 diabetes, is like I like massage his feet and his legs to make sure he has proper circulation because they're kind of discolored. Because that's what happens is that the blood circulation's lower in like your hands and your feet, like your phalanges, if you will, right? So it's like I make sure that his blood flow is circulating better through his legs and feet, as well as his hands and his arms. So it's like just making sure you take care of that stuff too is really important, and to check your functionality and stuff like that.
Released to anybody, but turns out in the midst of all of this, she is now fully employed by United and no longer the university. Originally, she was employed by the university.
Yeah.
So her interests lie with her students.
Yeah.
But now United has taken her on.
Sorry, just one thing. Type 2 can be, oh my god, my arms are so fucky wucky because I'm just not resetting my tracker. I'm way too lazy. Type 2 can be more genetically prominent. So for example, when they ask you for your family history when trying to diagnose you with type 2 diabetes, is because they'll just check if it's in your family. Like that's more reoccurring. But also, it could also be more reoccurring if there's a higher elevated like obesity rate in your family too, which makes you more prone to it as well. There's multiple ways that it can be looked at, but it's like, yeah, just keep in mind. When it comes to type 1, that's just unlucky. My fiance has type 1, right? So he has like the monitor in his hip, and then he has like the needles and everything, which is like a whole different thing. So yeah, it's why I always keep Rice Krispie squares in my purse, though, because if his blood sugar ever gets low, I'm like, I got the Rice Krispies, babe! So type 1's a whole different beast, but yeah.
On as an employee. She still works at the university, and she's still the middleman, but she works for United. She does not work for the university. So whose interest is she protecting?
Yeah, she gonna protect United's.
And nobody was informed about that.
They bought her off, basically.
Yes.
They say, here's a fatter salary. Come work for us.
Yes.
So we
that's
don't have to
stupid.
pay $2 million on this thing.
Yeah. I don't know if it was solely because of Christopher's case. One could maybe potentially, in their opinion, connect the dots to that. But it is very suspicious, is it not? And the fact that even without Christopher's case, whose best interests are we serving? It's not the students anymore.
Yeah.
It's going to be United. United also states that Christopher, they're not treating Christopher. These are not treatment conditions. This is where it gets so confusing. They say, we don't know his exact medical history, so we don't want to treat him. Those treatment decisions are made between him and his physicians. But Christopher and everybody else is arguing, but if you're denying coverage for the treatment that the doctor recommends, are you not dictating how he gets treatment? Are you not suddenly playing doctor? Christopher states, the insurer United is playing doctor, making decisions without ever examining him or even speaking with him. Because these were the only medications that ever made him not housebound and feel somewhat normal. To return back to a state where he could not do anything, Christopher said that he contemplated self-exiting if the coverage was ultimately denied. They are still engaged in a legal battle. I believe that they settled out of court, but it was messy. One netizen states, United Healthcare, that's what it should be called. Some netizens say that the CEOs...
Oh my god. Well, at least they probably settled for like hella millions, but they said it cost $2 million to cover him even for 1 year. So they must have paid him millions upon millions, because if he won that case, the precedent it would have made for other people to come out with their cases against them would have been a lot higher. So settling outside of court was probably their only decision they could make without having to worry about other people actually standing up for themselves.
And billionaires of major corporations should feel like their actions have consequences, not the consequence of murder.
You're thinking about switching your practice? What are you currently in?
Right? But it's kind of the situation of, I guess if a celebrity were to do something, there would be some backlash. A lot of CEOs and major corporations, there's some backlash, but not really. It doesn't affect them. They don't wish to be liked by the general public.
Yeah.
They wish for their bottom line to be fat. One netizen comments, billionaires and CEOs should see the fact that the entire internet is having a week-long celebration for one of their own's death. And they should really think about what that means. Again, that's not a threat. They're saying, think about how we got here. Think about what you're doing with your life.
Exactly.
But some of them have taken to making jokes, writing, my Amazon order is 4 days late, at Jeff Bezos. You seen what happened to the other guy? Stop playing.
Oh, that's crazy. No, that's crazy. Oh my God.
I will say most people seem to carry the sentiment, but some others disagree. One netizen rants on Twitter, United Health Group's profit margins are only 6 to 8%. That means keeping the same amount of coverage but lowering their premiums by 8% would make them completely unprofitable. We as a society is by and large financially innumerate and illiterate. It blames health insurance companies for high cost of healthcare. If this were true, Geico would also be responsible for high car prices and Progressive Home Insurance for high house prices. Salaries account for 60 to 80% of hospital expenditures. You know why healthcare costs are so high? Because our doctors make more than double compared to German and Swedish doctors. That's the reason they pay half of what we pay. Which is a fascinating argument. I don't know why this netizen has taken it upon themselves to worry about if United is making billions or a few less billions of pure profit.
Is that motherfucker stupid? What? What is that comparison? Oh, motherfuckers are brain dead. Oh.
Profit per year, which is enlightening and fascinating of a take. But another netizen response, the only reason that doctors get paid higher here than other countries is because the education is more expensive here.
There's one thing I do want to address about Canada's issue right now with doctors, especially surgeons. So, fun fact about Canada, we have a surgeon and doctor suicide epidemic going on. Yeah. Our doctors and surgeons are killing themselves. So we're hiring surgeons and doctors from different countries. We have an influx of us hiring from different countries now. The reason being is that we have a new tax break that is not the old one we used to have. Trudeau is killing our doctors. What happened is that doctors would be given kind of a leeway of almost 50 grand a year, right? Because what do they work in? They work for the government, technically. Our hospital branches are covered in provincial and as well as federal for funding. That's where a lot of our decisions are made for our hospitals. They are now being screwed and having to pay that money. So they're no longer getting a break of 50,000. They're losing that 50,000. And think about their salary currently. They worked this hard throughout their entire life to get this job that pays. They spent this many years of their life to become a surgeon. They spent this much of their money to become a surgeon. And now they lose. Well, technically, it was a tax break, so they got to keep the 50,000, but now they lose that because of this tax break being taken off. And now they can't afford the life that they've been living. The house they bought because they had the expectation of what they make each year, they can no longer afford. And we're in a current housing crisis. The life that they expected for themselves, and you might be like, well, they're getting paid a lot of money anyways. Yeah, but what happens if you work your entire life to get a job that you knew was making you a certain amount, that you signed to making you a certain amount, and for it to fuck you over the course of 1 year? And that's what it comes down to. Is that it's disgusting and it's terrible. And our solution isn't, let's help these Canadian doctors. Our solution was, let's hire ones from different countries and bring them in. And that's where we are. I had one of the most heartbreaking moments when taking my uncle to the hospital. I didn't take him, the ambulance took him. But I went to the hospital when my uncle had a heart attack. And in the ER, they only had one surgeon there for emergency surgeries. But he was also covering as the doctor of the unit. So he was the only doctor seeing every ER patient, as well as the only one who was able to do surgeries at the time, because it was during the night. And they're that short-staffed. And he's like, I'm looking at this guy, and he looks like he's like a shell of a person. I'm like, how long you been on this shift right now? He goes, I think I'm hitting 14th hour, 13th hour. Right? Then he looks at his watch and he corrects himself. And I'm just like looking at this guy, and I'm like, who else is on with you? When are you getting switched out? Not to be rude, I'm just wondering because you look tired. Like, right? And you know me, I'm just blunt. I just say what I say, right? And he goes, oh yeah, I get to clock in like about 3 hours from now. I was like, oh my God, what the hell? And he goes, yeah, but then I'm off for like 2 days and I come back. And I'm like looking at this guy, and I'm like, they don't have anyone else here with you? And he goes, well, I have he had like one resident with him. And I'm like, fuck, what are they doing? This is an emergency at one of the largest hospitals we have. An emergency. And again, as I said, one of the largest hospitals we have in the capital of my province. Because we took my uncle to the biggest hospital we could get. We were like, okay, take him all the way fucking there to get the treatment. We will get there. We don't give a fuck. Thinking that that would help. But guess what? It doesn't matter where you go. There's not enough fucking doctors. And that's where we are. And that's why when people have an issue with how much doctors make, I'm like, shut the fuck up. Okay? Because who's going to save the lives of the people you care about? I don't care how much a doctor makes when it comes to like wanting them to make less. Get them to get them to make more. They're saving lives. That's the job that should be paid the most, right? I also agree that regular jobs and other jobs should be paid a higher minimum wage. I think our minimum wage is bullshit. I'm not saying anything about like, hey, we should be paying blah, blah, blah workers less. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that overall, for jobs that are needed to be paid at a higher rate is goddamn doctors. And I will stand on business about that. Now, when it comes to other shit, whatever, we can debate Lord about it all day. But my thing is that one, people deserve to have a fucking livable wage. I think that's not a hot take. I feel like we all have decent human decency to understand that. My bigger issue is that when we're talking about jobs that are of a higher education level, that doctors and fucking teachers are the ones that should be paid more in society. But we don't treat them well. If you look at other countries who actually pay teachers well, they have a higher success rate for their youth who move into the next phase, who become doctors. And when you're losing jobs like that because people aren't meeting the education requirements, you gotta wonder what the fuck is happening to the system. And it's like, oh, maybe we should have funded education and doctors, the two things we fucking need. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. You can trace this, and it's going to be like the chicken and the egg story. What came first? Other netizens are just calling the original poster a corporate bootlicker, wondering what they get out of defending a soulless mega corporation that denies healthcare to paying customers. Others argue, even if all of this is true, that does not give anyone the right to shoot the man dead on a public street in the middle of the day. We have courts for those things. To which netizens argue, it's adorable that you have faith in the rule of law when your country is run by bureaucrats, twisting the system in their favor, ensuring the status quo remains the same. All of us little people stay at the bottom for the elite to use and exploit to enrich themselves further. To which a whole fight ensues. So you're saying it's okay to murder someone secretly or openly because they've been accused of doing bad things?
Not even accused of doing bad things, because they're legally killing people. That's what it is. It's the discrepancy of someone who's illegally killing someone versus someone who's legally killing people. That's what the problem is, right? I don't agree with murder and assassination. I think that's something I can say pretty easily. but I'm not going to grieve for it when I don't care about the person who dies, right? And that's a lukewarm take at best, right? I'm not here wishing for people to die. That's fucking psychotic, right? But what I will say is that I'm not going to be upset over the fact that somebody who chose to let people die died. I'm not going to cry for that. That's all there is to it, right?
Accused is not convicted. Accused of insider trading. Another netizen responds, almost every policy decision made by United had to pass over his desk. Every family bankrupted and every person that died because they couldn't get the proper medical care was on his hands. Why do you protect the elite who walked all over us and don't give a fuck about you? To which someone responds, people can start a class action lawsuit and they will always have lawyers coming out of the woodwork to help them. Individuals are a little more dicey, but it can be done through the court. You don't have to murder someone.
The naivety of people astounds me. How? Not even for a fucking second. I can't. And it's like, the thing is though, is what they're saying is what I wish was reality. We all wish that was true. No one's here like, never could happen. I mean, it's like, it probably would never happen, but it's like, God damn.
Many netizens have written back, where exactly can we hold these CEOs accountable? Poor people have zero access to the court system. It's pay to play. Wake up and look around for fuck's sake.
Exactly.
Another comment reads, courts for filthy rich white collar criminals? Yeah, that's freaking hilarious. Tell me more about this imaginary world you live in. One netizen expresses disappointment in society, writing, if this was your dad, you would not say horrible things. I live in Minneapolis, and I can tell you his family is wonderful. He is not the sole...
Tee up for a second. If I had a father who was willing to let people die, do you think I would respect him? If I knew I had a dad who was out here being like, yeah, I denied people basic fucking rights to their lives and money to help them live, do you think I would respect a man who does that? The father I respect, my dad, is the one who helps people. My dad is the kind of person who was in debt and still helped out family. He didn't care because he wanted them to fucking be okay. My dad helped pay for my mom's brother's bypass. A triple bypass. We didn't have the money to fucking do that. We did not have the money. And he fucking did it anyways. And my dad worked 3 jobs to make sure that he could do shit like that and to afford our family. That is the person I fucking respect. I will never respect a person who thinks it's okay to not even help, but just to allow somebody to be able to afford to live. That's the fucking difference. And if you're proud of having a parent like that, that speaks a lot about your own character, about what your value of human life is. Because you don't value human life, you value your own comfort. And that's the fucking difference.
Decision maker. It's a huge corporation. Sad that healthcare is all going downhill. Starts with the drug companies and people living longer.
Starts with the drug companies and people living longer? Yes, people are living well past their original expectation date. Yes, drug companies are have a complete monopoly over what the fuck is happening for drug prices. But that is not the reason why we're getting fucked. The reason we're getting fucked is because of a double header. Who owns the pharma? Who owns big pharma for a lot of these? The same ones insuring. Like, how out of touch idiot are we? Like, look at your top 1%. They're profiting off of you living longer, and they're profiting off of your death. They profit both ways. It's not just one way. They profit off you extending your life, and they profit off of you fucking dying. The only time they lose is if you're healthy and you're 90 and you fucking reaping benefits from the government. That's the only fucking time. Besides that, no.
To which people comment, funny how when United says it to people who have policies, it's not horrible. Another comment reads, denying people healthcare after people have paid into that system is a whole new level of evil. Another debate-inducing comment reads, it's very sad many people have lost their minds in moral clarity. How can you celebrate the death of just a guy in a position to do his job and people compare him to Hitler? Folks, the guy was a human being who has loved ones like us who are mourning him right now. Please have some sympathy and maybe a little class.
Okay, but in that analogy, Hitler was also a human being? So are you saying that also? That, hello? Hello? Fucking idiot? Is that your fucking point? Because your point doesn't make sense! The way these people do mental gymnastics is insane! God!
Many netizens have taken on the viewpoint that you live by the sword, you die by the sword. They write, when you punch down on the weak and poor...
Okay, holy shit. Zal in chat goes, all our worst monsters are humans. Damn, motherfucker, damn. I mean, shit, bitch, you right, but what the fuck? That shit hit a little hard.
You get what you deserve. I will say, it seems like most Americans are at least supporting the suspect, or if not caring and feeling sympathy for Brian Thompson.
That's where I stand. That's where I stand. It's like, I don't support someone murdering somebody, because again, that's fucking weird. But I'm not going to feel sympathy towards somebody who's this fucked. That's where I stand. I think that's a fair thing to feel. Right? And there's going to be extremist views one way or the other when it comes to a scenario like this. But that's where I am. And I don't think it's a hot take. I think it's probably the average take of most people when it comes to this. Just goddamn.
Interesting that both sides of the aisle are more or less united. One netizen sentiment sums it up pretty well. I've seen these responses throughout Reddit, and I cannot blame the reaction of many. Where's the equal amount of media coverage on millions of people being denied healthcare because of these insurance companies, or those going nearly bankrupt to cover what their insurance companies won't? Americans are dying because of their greed, and it's making it nearly impossible to feel anything close to sympathy at this point. With the overwhelming sentiment being, quote, this might be the one time, if not all, of America is united.
Someone in chat goes, Brian was not some low-level grunt working an insurance job to support his family. He made the policies. Exactly. Now, this is a conversation that I'm shifting a little bit off topic here, but I do want to mention, because I had some people in chat who were like, I'm reevaluating the career I want to go into. I'm second guessing it, like when wanting to go into nursing or medical shit and things like that. I have the same concept of people who want to go into police work as the people who want to go into nursing, as people who want to become doctors, okay? Though there's corruption in a system, doesn't mean that you need to be corrupt. You being a good person going into one of those jobs makes a very large difference. The reason why ACAB is a thing is because it's not about literally all cops are bastards. It's not a literal sense. It's about the institution. How there is this terrible infrastructure of what the police is in its current state. That's the issue, is how corrupt it is. You can be someone who changes that by keeping your moral clarity and entering in. That's what it's about. The same thing applies for if you want to become a nurse or a doctor. It's like, understand that you do not have to be the piece of shit who's neglecting a woman's reproductive rights. You don't have to be the dickhead who doesn't take a patient seriously. You can be the person who sticks up for a patient, who does the extra work because you care for a human life. You can be the cop who sees somebody going through it and tries to help with the situation. You can be a person who gives a fuck in these positions. And that's why I'm saying it's really important, right? And like, these jobs are difficult and mentally draining, and we need more good people in them. And right now, we're in a situation where a lot of them are burnt out, and a lot of them are corrupted by a system that's just fucking blown out, man. Right? Don't choose between money and your morals. I mean, I've talked about this previously too when it comes to my money and morals, right? is I get offered a lot of NFT and crypto sponsorships. A lot, right? I've been offered up to 1 million, well, it was $1.2 million in total worth of NFT crypto sponsorships, right? And I've rejected that. Now, the highest one I got individually was 120,000, but that would have been like over the course of 2.5 months. There's like installment ones, which my smaller one was 60,000, which would have been a one-off video. So it's different for each thing. I rejected those, even though that's fucking life-changing money, because it's like, are you willing to like literally scam your audience for that much money? Like, really think about that, because then whatever you do from that point on is nothing. You're meaningless after that because you have no fucking clarity and you have no like soul, right? And listen, I'm not going to always say the right thing. I'm not always going to be the best morally. I'm going to say stupid shit. I'm going to be fucked up. I'm going to say terrible things. It's going to happen. I'm a human. That's going to just happen, right? But there's certain moments in life where you can choose to have a different moral clarity. Am I going to judge a friend if they take that sponsorship? No. I won't agree with it, but I'll be like, shit, it's life-changing money. I get it. Right? But for myself, I would never. Because I know that unless I was literally going to take the money and fucking delete myself off the internet and just, so long, fuckos. Like, I was doing one of those situations, yeah, maybe. But no, like it's just understanding where you want to like be morally. What you want to do is a decision you make every day. You choosing if you want to be a good person or not is an every moment decision. And it's one that you continue to make. Though, I will always take a mobile game sponsor because them shits are fun anyways. I will always take a mobile game sponsor. I love shilling that shit. I think mobile games are fun as hell. I just play them when I lay in bed anyways. But I won't take stuff that scams my audience. That's bullshit. Right? So, yeah, that's where I stand. I don't know. Just... And the larger my channel gets, the more I get approached by these shit companies and the more offers I get for larger amounts of money. And the only one that I've somewhat been like, you know, a little about was a gambling one I got offered. Because I was like, my age demographic for my audience, don't say your ages in chat, don't do it. But my age demographic for my viewership is actually a lot older, right? And I was like, I do like playing slots in real life. So I would think about it. But then I was like, And I do play gacha games, which is also gambling. And I really thought about it again, and I'm like, yeah, but that's kind of a fucking lame YouTube video, huh? Because people would come for that, and then if they saw it as a YouTube video, people would want more YouTube videos of that. And that's what stopped me. It wasn't the fact of like, oh, morally, I shouldn't do that to promote gambling. For me, it was more like, I don't want my content to turn into gambling content. So that's where that went. But for a younger audience, for people with younger audiences, taking gambling sponsorships is fucking stupid. Like, obviously, you don't want to promote kids to gamble. If you have an older one, I don't think it's a big fucking deal. Again, though, like, yeah. Are you guys saying, don't say your ages in chat, you're going to get banned? If you're wondering on YouTube why people in chat get banned for saying their ages, is because what happened, like with the Minecraft community and the Smash community back in like 2020, I was like, holy shit, what's the way for me to protect my community from ever having that issue? And I was like, oh, well, just make sure no one can say their age, right? And that way, if there's a young person in the community, no one will know. And then older people can't target them and vice versa, whatever. Like, not really vice versa, but like, you know what I mean? Like, just that way no one knows. So that way the older people also don't say their age either. That way they lead by example for the younger people. So everybody follows the rule. And that's the reason why we don't say ages in my community, right? Because it's like, how else can you really protect kids? You banned? I thought they were getting timed out. Some get timed out if they're like, we can tell it's like a genuine accident. Some people will get banned. And then for us, how bans work on Twitch is that you can always submit a ban appeal and just like write a message being like, that's actually my bad. We usually let you back in. We're pretty good about ban appeals in this community. It's just that in order to like keep things like more safe for people, sometimes we just have to do what we have to do, especially after like a warning or two. Yeah. Kaze thinks of the 200 bits earlier. Jay thinks of the 200 bits. Knight thinks of the 200 bits as well. There's vending machines where you can get bullets in Texas? God damn. Catspaw thinks of the 200 bits as well. Kaze thinks of the 200 bits. That's a long paragraph. I am not reading it, but bless up. Is there another 400 bits as well? Tumble thinks of the $20 dono. Have a good day from a Tex Talks Battletech nerd. Hell yeah, dude. Love Battletech. Angry, thanks for the 15-month resub. Lays, thanks so much for the Prime. Lindsay, thanks for the Prime as well. Spooky Lobster, thanks for the tier 1. Sire, thanks so much for the 10 gifted. Zip, thanks for the Prime. K for Lord of the Rings, stayed for Alicia. Fuck yeah. Ping King, thanks so much for the. Sorry, I thought of the goddamn KSI song. From the ring to the bend to the king. Thanks for the 5-month resub. Where's the Lisa? Thanks for the Prime. Rise up, gamers. What if I gave you 3 different numbers and leave it up for assumption? Huh? No, I just ban your ass because you a stupid ass bitch for that. Crazy ass hoe. I ain't playing them games. Anyways, continuing.
5 days after Brian Thompson's murder, Larry and his friends meet up at McDonald's. Larry and his friends always go to this McDonald's. They're sitting around eating their regular orders when Larry says, you know, one of my friends, and I thought he was kidding, when the shooter, or who I assume is the shooter, came into the McDonald's, he made this comment. This little guy walks in.
God, that looks like the shooter from New York. But I thought he was, the group of us, I thought it was more of a joke. And we were kidding about it, but then...
And as it turned out, it was him.
What?
The employee said that they thought that was him. You know, I guess that's what started the initial investigation on it, you know, and
Wait. Larry is talking to who?
He's telling the news station. So he's saying he's sitting at McDonald's with all of his buddies, and this guy walks in with a mask and a hood and a backpack, and they're like, that guy looks like the New York City shooter. Ha 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 ha. Because, you know, what are the odds that he's in Altoona, Pennsylvania, 86 miles away from New York City? So random. And this is a very small town in Pennsylvania. And they're like, hee hee, haha, giggling. But I guess the employee overhears at McDonald's, sees the guy when he's ordering, and decides, you know what, I think that's the shooter, and calls 911. Larry and his friends leave before the police arrive. And then later, it's all over the news. The shooter has been caught at a McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So Larry says he goes back to the McDonald's. He asks the employees, was that the guy? Was it this McDonald's that he was arrested in? And they said, yeah.
I said, was I here when he came in? And she goes,
you were sitting right there in front of him. You were making jokes that he was the shooter. He thought that was crazy. He said, I mean, he must have heard us when he walked in, but he had no reaction because we were talking pretty loudly. We were right there. They said that the shooter was sitting in the corner eating hash browns. He does note that he was surprised that the shooter stayed as long as he did, considering he's on the run. But again, at the time, he did not really think that.
You know what, I'll be real with you. Vibing and eating hash browns. I don't really want to get up either. Nah, I'm gonna just sit. Oh shit, the cop's coming. Can I take my hash brown to go, or what's? I gotta. Can I at least take it with me? Can I just finish? Hold on, let me finish it up real quick.
Larry did not think that that was the United shooter, but one of the employees at McDonald's clearly did. A 26-year-old man is promptly arrested at McDonald's, and I'm sure you've all seen the news by now. That man is Luigi Mangione. He was considered a missing person. His mom filed a missing persons report for him November 18th of this year, but apparently he hasn't been in contact with his family for the past few months. In his backpack, police allege there was a 3D printed ghost gun, a 3D printed silencer, a loaded Glock magazine with 6 9mm rounds, and apparently multiple fake IDs, including one that was allegedly used to check into the New York City hotel by the person of interest in the pictures. There was a US passport, $10,000 in cash. The police allege that there was $8,000 in USD and $2,000 in foreign currency, which is going to be debated later. They state that there was clothes, face masks that were similar to what the suspect used, as well as a water bottle and a kind bar wrapper with fingerprints allegedly matching those found near the crime scene. They also state that they found a spiral notebook containing entries and thoughts, as well as almost like to-do lists, as well as a 3-page manifesto that legacy media did not want to release. All these networks had his manifesto in possession.
You're kidding me.
They would quote from it here and there. Ken Klippenstein is the independent journalist that released it.
Are we gonna get the manifesto in this video? Because if not, I'm gonna go. If it's online, I'm gonna read it. I just want to know.
And he writes, my queries to the New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, and NBC to explain their rationale for withholding the manifesto while gladly quoting from it selectively have not been answered.
That is some wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the research for this case was very disorienting. I would go onto mainstream media and the rhetoric, the tone was so disconnected from even holding the manifesto while gladly quote
To the feds, I'll keep it this short because I do want to respect I do respect what you do for our country. To save you lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was a fairly trivial, some elementary social engineering. Basic had a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and a to-do list that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I worked in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any stray of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, the parasites simply had it coming. A reminder that the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is indecipherably largest company in the U.S. market. Oh. You know what's crazy? This is somebody who's like, oh, I have great respect for, I hope I didn't traumatize anyone, and I have great respect for like police work and stuff like that. But this motherfucker needs to go. That's what he's saying. But I can see exactly what the fucking media would use. If you want to paint him as someone who's terrible, guess which line you would take? Guess which line you would take? You would take the line, frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. That's the line you would take if you were fucking news media who wanted to switch the narrative. You would cut out all the previous parts of him being respectful, and you'd use that one line.
Quoting from it selectively have not been answered.
That is some wild stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the research for this case was very disorienting. I would go onto mainstream media and the rhetoric, the tone was so disconnected from even their own comment section. Not even just Twitter and TikTok, their own comment sections.
Their own audience.
Their own audience is like, are you dumb? But the manifesto reads in full. To the feds, I'll keep this short.
Oh shit, you're reading it.
What you do for our
okay, I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because I just read that part.
Illuminate the simply had it coming. A reminder, the US has the #1 most expensive
I didn't know she was gonna read
in
it.
the world, yet we rank roughly 42 in life expectancy. United is the largest company in the US by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these indecipherable words have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corporation and greed decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. The spiral notebook, at least as of right now, hasn't been fully released, but there are sources that state he had brief ideas, considerations of bombing Manhattan, but decided against it because it would, quote, kill innocents.
See?
So he went for a far more targeted approach, writing,
That's what I fucking talked about in the part 1 video. Right? Where I'm like, he didn't kill a witness who was clearly there. He didn't use a bomb or anything insane that would be flashier. He had only the intention to harm one person. And that's what, which is,
So then
God
what do you do?
damn.
You go to the annual Parasitic Bean Counter Convention to whack the CEO. It's targeted, precise, and doesn't risk innocence. What would be better than killing the CEO at his own bean counting conference? Which, side note, let's not forget, this is alleged. You can write whatever you want on whatever piece of notebook in your possession. That would be free speech, right? So just keep in mind, people are innocent till proven guilty in the court of law. Perhaps Luigi was so delusional that he truly believed that United's top executives gather together to count how many pinto beans they each have, right? Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. You can write whatever you want. That doesn't necessarily
I love that Stephanie blinks in Morse code. Stephanie start going, you can believe whatever you want. Like, God damn, girl, damn.
Or maybe he thought this was a plot of a movie that he could sell to Netflix. Again, take everything with a grain of salt. But the police are saying, this is like a slam dunk case. Just saying. In his Goodreads account, he did state that he wanted to read the biography of the creator of the atomic bomb, and he did rate the Unabomber's book 4 stars, so there's that. However, what does that even really mean, right? I could rate any book 5 stars. In the midst of researching this case was when Luigi Mangione was arrested while I was in the midst of researching, and the shitstorm just began. This man's entire digital footprint comes out within a day or two since his arrest, and probably more so trickling in now. Netizens found his Twitter account. This guy seems very normal. He
Talk
liked
about the
posts about
Pokemon
caffeine.
thing.
It's amazing how caffeine really is the only drug that has reached this level of social acceptance. Imagine someone saying, the first line of cocaine in the morning is one of my favorite things in life, or without my morning joint, I can't function. He reliked this. Or just a forum screenshot. Again, not his words, just a repost, but maybe it can shed some light on his viewpoints. The screenshot is of someone asking the question, what are your thoughts on this quote? It is no measure of good health to be well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. Someone responds, those who feel strong aversion to adjusting to a maladjusted society are deemed mentally ill, alcoholics, substance abusers, or slackers. They are corralled into a 12-step group and or a mental hospital or placed on medication or even just shunned, all in the attempt to make them conform and fit in when what really needs to happen.
I'm going to just say this because this is a little bit of an extremist view, okay? And I want to just make us grounded in reality. Please take your medications. This is a lot. This view that they're talking about from like netizens, this one's extreme. All right. When it comes to mental health, it's not about conforming you to society. It's that you have a chemical imbalance within your brain. Neurotransmitters are important to understand, right? And through science and through time, we've developed the ability to be able to help you regulate the way that people naturally feel. And having that hindrance, having it be like supplemented and helping you have a medication that can help address that issue is a beautiful thing. Okay. Now, if we're going to talk about the history of medications when it comes to mental health, before, when people didn't even need you to conform, they would throw you away, right? That's a different story. But what we're having now is people being regulated to have an easier comfort of life. And that's what medication does when it comes to mental health. That's the reason why when you're somebody, for example, is ADHD, who takes your medication to help you, right? Think about the level of frustration you have when you weren't medicated. That's not about conforming to a society. That's about helping your existence be easier. And a part of that is a societal balance. A part of that is that. But it's really important to understand that your well-being and existence is something that shouldn't be as difficult as it is when you're mentally ill. And trying to get help for that should never be seen as like, oh, they're trying to brainwash me. No, they're not. This is that we've come to a developmental age where we're able to help your ease of life rather than throwing you into a fucking loony bin, which literally used to be a thing where depressed women would often get lobotomized back in the day. And that was terrifying because my wife just isn't acting right anymore and I don't know what to do. So think about it. Depression is a great way of us understanding that too. But we aren't getting enough neurotransmitters. We aren't getting enough serotonin in particular to help us function, right? Or those who have like insufficient dopamine levels, or those of us who have like right? So it's like, it's understanding those things. Yeah, one person in chat says I was not a stable person until I got my current meds. Yeah, it's important to understand that. Now, I'm never going to tell you that you have to take medication, right? A lot of that's due to your doctor, maybe like people you see for your mental health, right, and well-being. And if you're somebody who doesn't believe in taking those medications, it's important to understand when and when not to, right? And a lot of those decisions shouldn't be made by yourself. They should be made with the addition of somebody who is understanding in the field, right? Because the worst part about self-diagnosing that people often don't realize is that when you self-diagnose, you're living the experience through a different lens than what the reality might be, until somebody who actually has the knowledge in the field is able to help you see through that to understand where it lies. Now, the reason why that's important is actually symptoms from different mental illnesses have a lot of crossover, and they often get misdiagnosed, right? And some of them cannot be medicated. And if you end up getting medicated for something because you misdiagnosed yourself, or a doctor even misdiagnoses you, that can actually fuck you over, right? It's very important to understand that taking stupid quizzes online are not the answer. They might help you lead to realize you have more symptoms than you noticed, that those symptoms should be addressed with your doctor, but please try not to self-diagnose. It's a good stepping stone, though. It's a good stepping stone to like learn more about what your symptoms are and to understand them better. Because it also helps you with dealing with those symptoms, right? I know that there's some people who have a really bad issue with dissociation. One of the things that helped me through a lot of my dissociative states when I was battling depression but not on the proper medication yet was that I would play YouTube videos to hear like other human voices around me, so I wouldn't just zone out into the fucking void for like hours on end. Because sometimes I'd lose track of time and zone out, and I'd be so dissociated I wouldn't realize that I did that, right? And that's when I started to have like this codependency with like listening to YouTube videos or watching Netflix or like doing stuff like that in the background to make sure that I was grounded in reality. Because I would realize X amount of time passed because this video passed, or I'm this far into a video that I'm watching, or this far into an episode I'm watching, right? And that helped me like sort of stabilize that. But that was a symptom, right? And it's like stuff like that can help you realize what can you do to help make your life a little bit easier. But it's important to like, you know, also have additional help if you can, right? Is that with you sometimes? Yeah. Like, I mean, I personally used to do that all the time. So I get it. I get it for sure. But yeah, just overall, and when it comes to stuff, again, self-diagnosing isn't good, but checking and understanding your symptoms is extremely important. Yep.
Happen is change in the society itself. He reposts another quote: "Being smart makes you more prone to confirmation bias." Luigi allegedly elaborates on this viewpoint, stating, "In retrospect, it shouldn't have been surprising. Confirmation bias is what happens when that little lawyer in your head takes control of your thinking process, and smart people have a very smart little lawyer in there." To which netizens have commented, "Yeah, well, you better get a lawyer a call." They find Luigi's Instagram, which has since been taken down. His Goodreads account, like I was telling you, also taken down. His LinkedIn, and it shows that he graduated in 2020 with a bachelor's degree from the Ivy League UPenn, and then eventually went on to get a master's in computer science and minor in mathematics. He was even valedictorian at his private prep school he went to, Gilman.
Jesus Christ. Yeah, he's like the ideal, like there's no way the media can spin him to look like he was some downtrodden fucker. He was thriving and did this. Like, holy shit.
This elite all-boys school that costs nearly $40,000 per year for high school. He gave a valedictorian speech where he explains, "The teachers at Gilman influenced me especially. They encouraged less of a desire to achieve high grades, but instead encouraged more of an excitement to explore academic topics outside of the classroom."
I have to remember that a valedictory, by definition, is a farewell. It's been an incredible journey. Thank you.
While netizens are constructing this profile of the alleged shooter, they're getting more confused because I don't think this is who they thought it would be in the beginning. And it seems like this is what netizens describe as the healthcare industry's worst case scenario of who the shooter could be. Because the shooter is not a minority. The shooter is not from an underprivileged class. The shooter is well-educated, Ivy League educated, from a privileged class, is a white, attractive male. It's a very interesting profile that starts coming together. He says that he wanted to study biology and AI. He was on the robotics team. Side note, former classmates of Luigi's have spoken out. And one former classmate says,
but everyone just knew him as like a quiet, reserved, nice kid. He was obviously really intelligent, and everybody can tell that by his resume, of course. Yeah.
it's been said that even his family is of a very prominent, influential family in Maryland. His grandfather allegedly made a lot of money as a real estate developer who owned country clubs, nursing homes. They are related to healthcare. They have connections to healthcare, and even a radio station. He passed away in 2008 from a stroke. His grandmother passed away in 2023 from Parkinson's. So Luigi's grandparents, they pass away. But his parents themselves are also doing well for themselves in the family business. There's actually quite a lot of debates on whether or not Luigi and his family could potentially be wealthier than Brian Thompson.
Wow.
Brian Thompson's net worth is estimated to be around $43 million. It is unclear what the Mangionis are worth exactly, but people find it...
Hey, do not compare him to Ted Bundy. Do not compare him to Ted Bundy. Do you know why Ted Bundy's a stupid fucking hoe? Do you know why? Because the first time he escaped, when he jumped out that motherfucking window, they didn't even have enough evidence at the time to even convict him. But then he ran like a fucking psycho little bitch, then did his extra round of slaughters, and then kept going on a rampage. That's not even close of a comparison, because that guy was a piece of shit idiot who also manipulated the woman he was with to, like, keep working to pay for his law school. He's not even close, and he's definitely not Ivy League smart. He was charismatic. That was the difference. The difference of Ted Bundy being seen as this great sort of motherfucker was because the media dick wrote him. Because he was seen as an attractive man who was charismatic. And that's the reason why people had such a fascination with him. It was also one of the first televised trials. And he was representing himself. So the publicity went crazy. He is not somebody who should ever be, like, seen in comparison to what Luigi did. Luigi did something that he believed was helping society. Ted Bundy also, if we're going to talk about more about him, sexually abused the daughter of the woman he was dating. One of the things he did was he would play hide and seek naked with his penis out with the child. But we seem to forget about that part because that doesn't get mentioned. He also was convicted for R-wording a 12-year-old girl. That's how his bite mark was identified. Just because you see the glamorized version of Ted Bundy, remember, he is one of the worst who just got fucking glamorized. That's all he is. I'm a very passionate true crime enthusiast, but I will never glorify a monster. I'll look into a monster, I'll research about a monster, but I'll never put them on a pedestal because that shit's fucked. Yep. And I don't fuck with the bristophiliacs. Them motherfuckers go eat shit and die. All right? If you want to like a fucking murderer in an anime or a video game, those are fictional characters. We don't give a shit about that. Have fun. I like murderers in video games. Those are fun. All right? Real life people? Never. We never glorify real life people who are fucking savages, who just literally hurt children. Like, that's not the standard we're at, you know? And that's what I want to make it clear. Some people judge me for that, by the way, where they're like, Alicia likes these anime characters that are so evil. I'm like, yeah, they're evil anime characters. I can find them hot. That's whatever. It's not the same for real people. The standard is not even close.
Interesting discussion. perhaps even more riveting is the fact that Luigi is allegedly included in a will from his grandmother that could be anywhere between $30 million to $100 million. It's not just for Luigi himself, but they have a very large Italian family. Anybody who is charged and convicted of a felony forfeits their right to any inheritance. So it appears that if that is true, Luigi does not care for money.
Wow.
And there's
He really don't care for money. He was really doing it. Yeah.
They donated over $1 million to the local hospital, Greater Baltimore Medical Center. The unit for high-risk obstetrics has the Mangione family name on there. They have the Mangione Family Foundation that supports nonprofit healthcare facilities. They run a real estate healthcare connected empire with nursing homes. Even more fascinating is Luigi's immediate cousin is Nino Mangione. He's a Maryland state delegate known to be quite conservative. He describes himself as, quote, conservative Republican fighting for freedom and the future of Maryland. He actually had to cancel his political fundraisers because of Luigi's arrest.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Because of the nature of this terrible condition involving my cousin, I do not believe it is appropriate to hold fundraising events scheduled this Thursday. I want to thank you for your thoughts and prayers and support. My family and I are heartbroken and ask that you remember the family of Mr. Thompson in your prayers. But like I said, it appears that Luigi has not been in contact with this very wealthy family because they reported him missing a month ago, and they state that they haven't spoken to him in months. And I think once people start digging into Luigi, getting his Twitter, Goodreads, Instagram, the question is, why did he kill Brian Thompson, the CEO of United Healthcare? One of the last quotes that he ever liked on Goodreads is from the Dr. Seuss book, The Lorax. It reads, unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. Some netizens have joked that the Lorax radicalized Luigi.
I said that! I said that in part 1! I said that! I'm one of the netizens who say that. I said that in part 1. I said the Lorax got him. Me, I said that.
Is that really why? The shell casings on the bullet used to kill Brian Thompson, there were 3 left behind at the crime scene, and there were 3 words etched into each of the bullets. One bullet says delay, the next one says deny, and the last one, interestingly, says depose. Depose means to remove someone from office or power, to dethrone someone.
Oh my God, I didn't know it was like 3 separate ones.
Yes.
I thought it was all engraved on one of them.
3 separate ones.
Oh my God. There's the woman right now being charged as a copycat for saying that. Which, what the fuck happened to freedom of speech? Like, insane.
3 shots fired.
That's even more like
A lot of thought,
Yeah.
a lot of planning. Now, it seems to be a reference to the book called Delay, Deny, Defend, which is a book written about how insurance companies get away with denying care and denying claims. Literally, they will deny and delay the payment of justified claims, deny payment altogether, and then eventually they'll defend their actions by forcing customers to enter in these very pricey litigations that they know that they're not capable of doing. One netizen writes online, when I delivered my son.
But that's not a threat. A threat is like the intent of to do harm. Right? Is a threatening message is of to do harm. That's not a threat. Right? Like, really think about it.
16 years ago, I had 2 different insurance plans, one through my employer and another through my husband's employer. Both of them were allegedly United. 2 plans, right? So better coverage, right? Wrong. United Healthcare spent months arguing with itself over which of our plans would cover what medical expenses, during which time the hospital were still billing me, sending me to collections, etc. My son then got sick at 7 weeks, another hospitalization, another round of arguing which plan was going to pay what. Long story short, $15,000 in medical bills within 7 weeks, 2 insurance plans, bankruptcy due to medical.
Sometimes these subtitles are wrong, by the way. She did say 15,000 earlier. The same thing happened earlier when she said like 10,000 or something. But yeah, just a heads up.
Bills that United Healthcare wouldn't cover because it couldn't figure out which of their 2 policies was going to pay for it. Bankruptcy, 2 insurance plans, gotta love United Healthcare. Delay, deny, defend. Another writes, my mom is currently dealing with United Healthcare, saying she has almost reached her lifetime max and they will not cover anything after she reaches it. She has maybe a month or 2 left. She has stage 4 cancer and there was no evidence of disease, but she gets treatment every 3 weeks to keep the cancer away. My parents have tried everything. Marketplace insurance does not cover her drugs. She tried to get a job just for insurance, but hasn't found anything. Now,
Oh man. That's murder. That's just legalized murder, man. That's what that is.
we just found out that her cancer is back and she is starting new chemo. Her doctor's advice was for my mom to divorce my dad so she could qualify for Medicaid. What kind of country do we live in?
So like for my type of cancer, because of my other health conditions that are what helped with the causation of it, I have a type that's a reoccurring, right? So even when I beat it, I'll still be on an extreme medication to help make sure it stays away. And the moment I get pregnant, I can stop taking that medication though, which is cool how biology works. But until then, I'll be still on a very heavy medication. And again, I have the luxury to keep my uterus and to not have to fucking mutilate myself, right? I have the luxury to keep my reproductive organs because of YouTube and because of Patreon and because of Twitch. That I have, like, I am so blessed to have this, right? And I am really thankful. And there's no but to that. I just am. The only thing I want to say in addition to that is, even with the amount of money that I pay for like medical shit, is never feel pressured to donate towards me. I'm not in a bad financial situation. I'm just not. I make quite a bit to feel very comfortable and pay for my medications and health. If I didn't have this job, there's no fucking way I could have ever kept my uterus. And that's the reality. I would have had to get my hysterectomy. And the plan is I will eventually get a hysterectomy. After I finish having kids, I want to have 2 kids. And since my cancer is reoccurring, after I have 2 kids, then I will get a hysterectomy. And that's the plan. And I'm able to do this because of being so lucky to have made it in like YouTubing. And when I look at the families who are reliant, who don't have the luxury to like, because for me, right, was the month that I had to pay for like my friend's like medical bill, I had to bust it out of my savings. And then in addition to that, I was like, I have to pay for my own shit. And I was like, okay, I'm switching my upload schedule. At that time, I was doing 2 uploads a day on Aliciaxlife, 1 to 2 uploads a day on Aliciaxdeath. And then I was like, fuck it, we're doing 5 videos a day and we're going to just do what we can and keep it rocking. Fuck it. And that's kind of the mode I went into. And I haven't stopped that because I was like, I'm so scared of something happening to me medically and I'm so scared of something happening. But also, I want my fucking wedding. I want to buy a house and I want to pop out babies. And them shits are expensive. So like what I do isn't as hard work as a lot of people. I, as a reactor, don't have a hard job compared to others. The only thing I do is time consuming. I'm just here a lot of hours. But let's not get it twisted, right? I spend a lot more time hanging with you guys, but less effort. I just talk a fuck ton because I'm a commentator, right? That's what I do. I do commentating. So it's like increasing that workload to help better the quality of my life and to help support the people I love and to support myself is never going to be an issue to me. And the amount of times I've had people in my life and even my own family telling me to take more breaks, it doesn't feel right because of like, I never want to put a burden on somebody else, right? And like, I even helped like my dad get out of debt. I've helped like, obviously, like I mentioned, I've helped 2 friends' medical bills actually, but the other one I didn't mention before. And right? And like, I have to support my own and then wanting to build my future. It's like, there's no way that I can slow down or stop. And I'm happy doing it though. That's the big difference between me and a lot of other people's jobs where they have to pick up an extra job or work extra hours is people don't have the luxury to enjoy what they're doing to make ends meet. And that's a fucked thing to deal with. And when you're going through cancer, like everything feels like shit. And I mentally am at a point in my life where I get so irritable and agitated with stupid shit because I'm just like so burnt out when it comes to my medical side that like you see me being the sassiest version of myself constantly, right? Which is fun, but also sometimes a bit extreme. But I'm never going to be perfect when it comes to that. And that's just the reality too. And it's like, I can't imagine if I was older and retired and couldn't afford this medication. I don't want to imagine that world. And that's what this poor woman's dealing with. She's hitting her age limit where they're like, okay, well, our solution is to fucking get divorced, I guess, because how else am I going to pay to fucking live?
What kind of company would just allow someone to die for profit? Her chemo is $30,000 a month. No one has that kind of money. She cannot get a job now because she's sick from chemo. We're hoping to figure out what to do with her. It's the last thing someone who is fighting for her life should be dealing with. Delay, deny, defend. Medical divorce is actually quite common. There was a heartbreaking story a few years ago, and this is just one story that gains a lot of traction, but this happens on a daily basis where a woman was engaged to marry the love of her life. She has brain cancer. They had this beautiful wedding ceremony, but they could not get married legally because she doesn't want to pass on medical debt to her husband. Another netizen writes, my 52-year-old mom felt like her cancer was returning and was growing. United Healthcare denied a scan my mom needed. They were delaying it, saying she needed to wait 8 more weeks because it hadn't been long enough since her last scan. At any rate, without a scan, chemotherapy cannot be restarted or any sort of radiation treatment. We could not afford to pay thousands out of pocket. My mom was barely working. Her coworkers donated their own sick hours at work so that she could keep her insurance, because if you get fired from your job, you lose your insurance. We were barely scraping by. Things were stressful and money was already so tight. And after some ER visits and multiple medical issues, the time finally came. The time United said we could get a scan. The scans. The cancer had already spread to my mom's brain.
Oh
but
my
now it was
fuck.
too late for anything.
Oh my fuck. No. The one thing that I'll give for Canada above a lot of shit is that my scans were covered. My scans were covered. And on top of that, when you're a cancer patient, they push you to the front of the list. To get a scan here, for the scan that I have to get, it's a specialized scan. So you know what an MRI is, right? Well, there's a thing called a super MRI. It's a machine that is a lot stronger, that does 3D imaging of your organs. And it takes a longer process. MRIs don't take too long. This one takes about 45 minutes to an hour of you like laying still while they scan you. It's a very long process because of like how intensive it is. The waiting time for that is 1.5 years. When you're a cancer patient, you get shoved up the list and it usually takes about 1 month to 2 months to get in. So the machine is different, but it's super backed up. And the thing that helped with like me was that I needed that scan, and I got that scan after I got my first biopsy result back. Right. So for me, they scanned after the fact because my situation was a little weird. Because what happened was I lost over half the blood in my body. They were taking me into surgery. Prior to the surgery, though, before I signed the forms, I said I wanted a biopsy. And they said, you don't need one, you're too young. And I doubled down and I said, just do it just in case, just so we know. So they ordered the video scope, the biopsy, and then the surgery as well to repair. And that's how we found out. Then after that is when I got the scan. I got the scan because I got diagnosed with cancer. If I wanted the scan before getting biopsied like you're supposed to, I would have had to wait another 1.5 years. And that's how fucked the system is. Because they do push cancer patients ahead, which is great. But if you're one who doesn't know you have cancer yet, you're fucked.
To be done. We were told that they would have needed to start treatment weeks ago to prevent it from getting to that point, and there was pretty much nothing that could be done now. She was the kindest and most caring person. She cared about everyone she met. One day, after we bought groceries with most of the funds we currently had left, I was driving home and she rolled down her window and handed a man without a home $20 and gave him a big smile. $20 was a lot for us at that time. She looked at me and said he needed it more than us and that we would be okay. I smiled and I nodded back. United robbed us of more time with my mom. Maybe she wouldn't have lived another year with the scan and chemo when she first noticed returning symptoms, or maybe she would have lived a few years. We don't really know, but without the scan, without the chemo, without the radiation, they were actively taking coins out of the meter of her life instead of just refusing to feed it. United Healthcare profits not just by denying claims, but also largely profits by delaying services. They hold on to their money and save thousands of dollars on my mom and people like her by essentially letting her die more quickly and not having to pay for additional chemotherapy or for radiation, extra doctor's visits, and fewer overall hospital visits. They're a criminal enterprise operating under our noses by lining the pockets of lawmakers, forcing smaller healthcare facilities and independent pharmacies to close, limiting access to healthcare locations to millions of Americans, especially in smaller towns, delaying life-saving services, all while profiting billions and more every single year.
I'm sorry, I'm just letting her say this whole thing because I can't even,
CEO died a far too quick and comfortable death in comparison to my mother and people like her who are suffering every day and barely get by financially, physically, and mentally while modern day mobsters toy with their lives for profit. When that shooter's story finally comes out, it's going to resonate with many of us. I've always thought myself a very impartial juror, very open to facts and fair punishment and treatment and playing by the rules. But I don't think I could, in good conscience, find this person guilty in a court of law.
I mean, it's just true. Like, as I keep saying throughout part 1 and part 2 of this video, right, is that, like, it's just legalized murder. That's all it is. You know? And again, I'm fortunate enough that my dad, who had stage 3 stomach cancer, one of the most aggressive types of cancer you can get. He had to get his stomach removed, most of his intestines. They had to staple his esophagus to his intestines. They got rid of his gallbladder and 3 lymph nodes. And for me, like, I tell you guys how my dad's my best friend. My dad is my best friend. I love my dad. Him and I were very estranged growing up. We were so distant and not close. And I am so thankful that he got to have a second chance at life because after he got the major surgery and when he started to recover, and I was there for him every day. And then even further than that, when he started to go through chemo, it was at home because he did surgery, then chemo after for him. The order for how it works is different for everybody's situation. There's a chemo, you'll have a surgical team who decides your way of treatment. Some people will do chemo first, then they'll do surgery. It just depends on the growth, the shrinkage, the grade of the cancer. All those things come into account, by the way. So it's not the same way every time. But for him, it was surgery first, then chemo. And during chemo is when him and I, like, he was at home and I was sitting with him. And he's like, do you care about me? I was like, what? And he goes, you aren't as sad as everybody else. And I was like, I don't really know you. We don't really talk. I was like, you worked 3 jobs, which I've always respected and loved out of you, but I don't know you as a person. I know you from like moments, but not like as a dad. And like, that was one of like the first honest conversations we've ever had. And from that point on, we both put this massive effort to be really connected. And I spent every day with my dad, every day, hours and hours of every one of my days. Sometimes I'll delay a stream. Sometimes I won't record because I'm just talking to my dad for too long and I lose track of time. And I feel so blessed and I feel so happy that I was able to have that chance in life, because I almost lost him without ever getting to know that how much of an incredible person he is. I know about the incredible things he does for others, but I never got to know of the incredible dad who's funny and bonds with me until that point, you know? Because I was a really quiet kid and he worked 3 jobs, and how my sisters connected to him was that they would push to connect to him, right? But I wasn't someone to push. So I didn't get to have that luxury of being connected to him until we had that conversation where he confronted me about feeling like I was more distant than everyone else. And I, you know, and what I said hurt him, right? But it was honest. And that's when we both changed profoundly in our relationship. He sacrificed a relationship with you to feed and shelter you, dad of the year. Yeah. That's the thing, is that I never held animosity towards him when it came to us not being close to each other, right? That's something that I expressed to him very early on too, was that I never felt animosity because he worked 3 jobs in order to make sure that we were like stable and going through life, right? So I never felt like, oh, he's neglecting me. Oh, he's a piece of shit. Oh, he's so absent. I was like, he's doing the best he can. That was the mentality I always had. But it was hard to like know him as a father when I didn't get the chance to experience it as much as I should have. What I remember though are the moments where he was there for me, like when he stood up for me when I got bullied in school because of being a person of color, or when I broke a girl's glasses because she made fun of me and then that whole thing happened. Or when I punched a girl in the face because she called me the N-word hard R. Like things like that, where my dad was there for me and stood up for me, especially when it came to racism. Like I remember those moments, but I don't really like have much else besides that with him when growing up. Until he got cancer and until he started fighting. And he realized that with his time off of work, where now that he was going through chemo and after surgery, he couldn't work anymore. We had all the time in the world to build a connection. And I was only in high school when this happened. So I worked 2 jobs while in high school, and I picked up a 3rd one in senior year because I wanted to go to university really badly. And I still, every morning at like 5:30 in the morning, I would get up, I would like take care of him, and then I'd get us a coffee and we would sit together, and then I would go to the gym to work out, and then I would go to school after. And like that's what I would do every day, right? And My dad's lived way beyond his expectancy now. And I'm so thankful. And now that like because I haven't lived at home for 8 years, right? I moved away for like when I went to film school. Like after I like left university and went to film school, then I left like, film school, went to like all the stuff, like I just traveling everywhere. When I got sick with cancer and moved back in with my parents, like I was like, holy shit. We picked up where we left off when it came to us being super close. And I felt like me being away, I missed even more years that I could have spent with him, which fucking sucked too. And yeah, that's why I spend so much time with my family so often. It's like, I feel like a lot of my life, I didn't get to connect the way I should have. And people don't have the luxury of having nice parents. And my parents have made a lot of fuck ups. My parents have made a lot of fuck ups. I'm telling you a lot of the good things, but there's been fuck ups for sure. And at the end of the day, though, it's like, you remember, like, what holds true to me more is the good. And that doesn't apply to everybody. Right? Some of you are going to have dog shit parents. Some of you are going to have terrible people. And I'm never going to tell you to love them the way that I love mine. Because that would be stupid. You have to love your family. You don't have to love your family. You can choose to love your family. I'm somebody who has a family worth being loved. So, opening up to them, building that connection was worth it. Some of y'all are not going to have that, and I will never judge you for cutting off pieces of shit. You have a piece of shit parent that you cut off, I'm never going to tell you, you gotta talk to them and mend. That's bullshit. Do what's right for you and your mental health. Do what's right for you. And it'd be stupid for me to tell you otherwise. Some people are like, you never know how long your parent has left. You have to reconnect. No. No. Do what's best for you. And if you want to do that, sure. And if you want to cut them off, sure, because it's your own life. That's all there is to it, right? And if you need a dad, I'll be the father you deserve. All right? So, yeah. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty as shit for not liking your parents if they were pieces of shit to you. Okay? Not every parent's good. And a lot of them are just, a lot of them are just kids who happen to have a kid. And now they're fucked over. That's all. They make bad decisions over and over again. So, and some of them are fucking awesome and you should appreciate them more. But not all of them are like that. So, it is what it is. Thanks, Pops. No problem, kid. Look at this video. Yeah, on a goofy, funny note, my parents are both sick right now. And my dad's like, I can't eat anything. I'm too sick. I don't want to eat anything. I'm like, good, because then you got to get more skinny, bitch. You getting too chubby. And I patted his tummy. He's like, what? And I'm like, yeah, drink this water and eat this banana. He goes, I don't want to drink this water and eat this banana. And then he waddled over to the couch, right? And guess what I did? I followed right behind him, holding the water, holding the banana. Come here. You're eating this banana and drinking this. I don't want it. You're doing it. I don't want it. I'm like, Dad, I'm not leaving until you drink this cup of water. Drinks this cup of water, pouting. I'm like, ugh. And then I'm like, my big bald baby's not drinking his damn water. Drink your water. He finishes drinking his water. I'm like, okay, good. I'll eat your banana. He goes, I don't want to eat the banana. I'm like, God damn it. I was like, what are you going to eat then today? What are you going to eat? He goes, I'll have soup. I'm like, okay, have soup then. When are you making your soup? Oh, no. Are you going to make it now? No. When are you making it? So, you know what? It's a certain point in life, the older you get, the more you turn into a child, So, yep, that was what happened right before stream, by the way. So after that, I came over. Oh, hello. Oh my goodness. Yeah, after that, I came on. Oh, Mom, I have a question. Did Dad have soup? Did he eat soup yet? No. Did he eat soup? He didn't make anything? Oh, welcome back. Yeah, because he didn't eat earlier. And then he said he was going to make soup. And then, oh, he probably had it. I'm just checking. Just check. He didn't eat today, he said. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Mom. Live dad update in real time, yeah. Anyways, thanks for watching, YouTube. We'll catch you in part 3 of the video now, because I am making another one. Yay! See you in part 3. Bye!